In April of 1985, the UK received the first home video release of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends by Guild Home Video, which was fittingly called Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. The video contained the first 13 episodes of Series 1. Later that year, in October, a tape called Further Adventures of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends was released and contained the last 13 episodes of Series 1. Just like that, the entirety of the first series was out for purchase on home media, and you only had to buy 2 VHS tapes. In 1998, Series 1 became even more convenient to watch from beginning to end, with VCI's release of the original adventures of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, a tape containing all 26 episodes. They then continued to release complete series tapes all the way up to Series 5 in June of 2002. This trend continued with the release of Series 6 on DVD, all the way up to Series 20. Now why the fuck am I telling you this? Well, it's simple. Almost none of these were released in North America. And that's a real shame, because almost every single VHS and DVD release of Thomas and Friends in the US features episodes in the wrong order. So for a while, in the early 2000s, there wasn't really an easy way to watch Thomas and Friends in order. Not that it mattered to me as a kid. Thankfully, it's very easy nowadays to look up the correct order online. But even if you did know the order, you'd still have to put a lot of work into watching it in that order. Let's take a look at the classic series. To watch Season 1, the easiest way would be to get the early years, which contains every single episode. Only one problem though, it uses the UK dubs. Not a problem for someone who likes the UK dub, but what if you specifically wanted to watch the US dub? Well, then you'd need Thomas Gets Tricked, James Learns a Lesson, Tenders and Turntables, Thomas Breaks the Rules, and Better Late Than Never. The first 2 are perfect. The last 3, however, are a hodgepodge of Seasons 1 and 2. You can thank Shining Time Station for that. Also, they're exclusive to VHS for some reason. But hold on a minute, where's Whistles and Sneezes? It's not on any of these. Well, that's because it's on Daisy, or as it's known on DVD, Percy Takes the Plunge. Also, it's George Carlin narrating now instead of Ringo. So what releases do I need to get to hear Carlin's dub? Well, you'd need the aforementioned Daisy, one of these 4 Christmas releases, Thomas and His Friends Help Out, Thomas and His Friends Get Along, Thomas Comes to Breakfast, A Big Day for Thomas, 10 Years of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, and maybe Best of Thomas, depending on which Christmas release you decided to get. Also, by the way, you're going to get a few episodes twice, but some tapes are still going to be missing some of the episodes, so you're going to have to watch Ringo's dubs of those, unless you get the extremely rare version of Thomas Gets Tricked that uses George Carlin's dubs and contains Thomas Goes Fishing and James in a Mess. But we're getting off track now. In total, you need a minimum of 6 releases to watch Season 1. But if you're insane like me, you can buy 14 instead. Now for Season 2, Ringo Starr missed out on redubbing more episodes. So to keep things simple, we're going to focus on the releases with George Carlin. The minimum amount of releases you need to buy is 7. That's right, 7! Those being Thomas, Percy and the Dragon, Daisy, James Goes Buzz Buzz, Percy's Ghostly Trick, one of the 4 Christmas releases, Thomas and His Friends Get Along, and Thomas Comes to Breakfast. Once again, these contain a mixture of Season 1 and 2, and also some episodes of Season 3. Fun! Speaking of which, for Season 3, you'll need Trust Thomas, Thomas Gets Bumped, Thomas, Percy and the Dragon, Daisy, James Goes Buzz Buzz, and Percy's Ghostly Trick. But things were about to change, because now that the US has basically caught up with the UK's release schedule, the episodes can finally be released in the correct order. Right? Well, kinda. The normal releases with new episodes would stick to one season, thankfully, but they were still very much in the wrong order. To watch Season 4, you will need to buy Rusty to the Rescue, Thomas and the Special Letter, The Gallant Old Engine, Sing Along and Stories, and another exclusive to VHS, Thomas Meets the Queen. Only 5 releases this time, a nice improvement. But I'm pissed about Thomas Meets the Queen. Why is there a For Season 5, you'll need to purchase Cranky Bugs, Races, Rescues, and Runaways, Spills and Chills, Make Someone Happy, Thomas's Christmas Wonderland, and Thomas's Trackside Tunes. I wish they would have just put Snow on Trackside Tunes instead of reusing a Season 4 episode. But you know, beggars can't be choosers. For Season 6, you'll need Salty's Secret, Percy's Chocolate Crunch, James and the Red Balloon, Thomas's Snowy Surprise, New Friends for Thomas, and Thomas and the Jet Engine. The last 2 are weird, because they both contain Season 7 episodes as well. New Friends for Thomas specifically was narrated by Michael Angelis for some reason. Finally, for season 7, you'll obviously need these two again, but you'll also need Hooray for Thomas, Percy Saves the Day, Thomas and the Really Brave Engines, and the legendary Mud Glorious Mud. Geez, season 7 was a mess. So, what have we learned today? Well, the bottom line is, if you want to easily watch Thomas in order, do not buy the US DVDs. Unless you don't care about watching the show in order. If that's the case, do whatever the fuck you want.